like my coffee dark.
This is my video update from St. Petersburg, Russia on this Thursday evening, August the 3rd. Let's talk about some news. And right now I am in front of St. Isaac's Cathedral, a beautiful church here in St. Petersburg. And if you visit St. Petersburg, this is another must see. And we'll walk around the cathedral, and you'll get a better look at the Golden Dome. And we'll talk about some news. And let's talk briefly about Tucker Carlson's interview with Devon Archer that he posted on his Twitter profile yesterday. And this is an interview, part one of two. And in this interview, Devon Archer reveals that the big guy was absolutely involved in his son's business dealings. Devon Archer claims that when they would sit down for business meetings, the big guy would call Hunter Biden during the business meeting. He would call Hunter Biden and ask if everything is going well. And he even showed Tucker Carlson, he presented a document from Joe Biden to Devon Archer. Biden was then vice president. And he wrote Devon Archer a letter, and he basically said how happy he was that Devon Archer was working with his son. And Devon Archer, he pretty much confirmed what we have been reporting on this channel now for forever, it seems, which is that the big guy was absolutely involved in the business dealings of his son, and many of those business dealings revolved around Burisma and Ukraine. And Devon Archer, he called Hunter Biden and the Biden family. He said that they were the brand that that Burisma needed, so that they could stay solvent and so that they could be taken seriously. That's the power of the vice president of the United States, and that's why Devon Archer said that's why Hunter Biden was on the board, and he was making $80,000 a month while on the board of Burisma. It was the Biden family, the Biden vice president brand that they provided to Burisma, not Hunter Biden's energy expertise. That wasn't why he was appointed to the board of directors. So that was the interview with Tucker Carlson and Devon Archer. And that's part one of two. So the second part, I imagine, will be dropping any day now. So since we're on the topic of Ukraine, let's talk a bit about some articles that came out over the past couple of days. Now, these articles were sent to me from the one and only Garland Nixon. He emailed me these articles, and these are some pretty interesting articles, I must admit. And one of the articles is from CNBC, and it talks about how the Biden White House is very frustrated with the Elensky regime. And it basically says that the Biden White House and the Pentagon, they're really upset and frustrated at the fact that they tell the Elensky regime, they advise the Elensky regime and the Ukraine military to do one thing, and the Elensky regime and the Ukraine military, they do something totally different. And the CNBC article claims that if the Elensky regime would have just listened to their advice, then the counteroffensive would have been successful. And CNBC, they cite anonymous sources in the Biden White House that claim that For example, the Biden White House told the Elensky regime not to fight in Bakhmut, not to get bogged down in Bakhmut, and the Elensky regime and the Ukraine military decided to bog itself down in Bakhmut. And the anonymous official from the Biden White House says because the Elensky regime was stubborn and it decided to fight for Bakhmut, it suffered catastrophic losses. So they admit that the Ukraine military suffered catastrophic losses in Bakhmut. And because the Ukraine military suffered catastrophic losses, the counteroffensive has suffered as well and has failed because of Elensky's stubbornness and his decision to not listen to the Biden White House and to fight for Bakhmut. So an interesting article from CNBC. And then we have an article from Politico. And this Politico article talks about the different scenarios should Elensky be eliminated. Now, this is a very interesting article from Politico because on the one side, the one part of this article, it pumps Elensky up and it talks about how Elensky is a type of a one in a generation type leader. You know, someone who has captured the imagination of the collective West, a leader who has managed to defend his country against Russia. Politico says it's a real life David and Goliath story, and they talk about how Elensky dazzles Western audiences. He speaks to collective West audiences and citizens about freedom and democracy, and they're completely hypnotized by Elensky's charisma. They actually call Elensky very charismatic, and they even say that he's an incredible orator. I mean, he really knows how to give a speech, and that's the one part of this article. So it really builds Elensky up, and it says that if something were to happen to Elensky, it would be a huge blow to Ukraine and to the collective West and to freedom and democracy and everything that's good in this world if something were to happen to Elensky. And then the article, it talks about how the Russians are planning or could possibly plan the elimination of Elensky in order to strengthen their position and their leverage over Ukraine. And it talks about how the Russians, for example, have a history of doing this. And the case that they cite is the Skripals, how Putin eliminates his opponents and people that he doesn't like with various poisoning tactics and poisoning methods. And they talk about the Skripals and they reference other incidences, but you know, the Skripals. If you believe that Putin poisoned the Skripals with Novichok, well, I have a St. Petersburg horse carriage to sell you if you believe that one. But there's also a lot of bridges in St. Petersburg as well that I could sell you. By the way, where are the Skripals? Where has the US and the UK taken the Skripals? Where have they gone? No one knows. Anyway, they talk about how Russia is planning and plotting to take out Elensky. And as I'm reading this article, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, if Russia really wanted to take out Elensky, they would have done it on day one. They could do it any day, actually. Any day they want, they could eliminate Elensky. But why would you want to eliminate Elensky? He's the incompetent leader that you want sitting in Kiev, allegedly making decisions and calling the shots in Ukraine. Why would you risk taking Elensky out and having someone who's more competent taking his place? Why do that? Why would you want to take out Elensky when you know that he's the type of leader that when he travels to other countries and he goes on these road trips, that his charisma, contrary to what Politico was reporting, his charisma is nil, is zero. And when he goes to other countries and he meets other world leaders and he gives speeches, people dislike him. So why would you want to get rid of a leader like that? So if Russia really wanted to get rid of Elensky, we all know that they could get rid of Elensky. Actually, we know this from the Israeli Prime Minister, the former Israeli Prime Minister Bennett, who gave an interview a few months ago, and he said that Russia is not interested in taking out Elensky. They're not interested in eliminating him. And Elensky was worried that Russia was going to take him out in the beginning of the special military operation, and he called Bennett. And he pleaded and begged Bennett to call Putin and to make sure that Russia wasn't going to take him out. And Bennett called Putin, and Putin said, "No, we have no interest in eliminating Elensky." And Elensky was relieved, and he got out of his bunker and he started to make videos. So, I mean, we know that Russia doesn't want to assassinate the president of Ukraine. But what was I saying? When you read this story from Politico, one part of it is really building up Elensky to be this awesome, amazing, powerful world leader. Then the other part is talking about his elimination at the hands of Russia. And then you read the CNBC article where they say that the Biden White House is very frustrated with the Elensky regime, and they essentially blame the debacle of the big counteroffensive on Elensky and the fact that he doesn't listen to the Biden White House. When you put all of this together, I'm thinking that Elensky's in trouble. That's what I'm thinking. I am thinking he is in trouble. You know, they're buttering him up. Politico's buttering him up. You're the best, Elensky. You're the best. And then they're saying, you know, someone's going to take you out, and your sponsors are not too happy with you, but you're awesome, man. You're awesome, man. But, you know, watch out for the Russians, and the Biden White House is very upset. Elensky's in trouble. That's, I think, the basic message to all of these articles coming out. It doesn't mean something's going to happen. It just means that people are thinking about it, right? People are thinking about it. Let's cross here, and then let's cross that way. So yeah, that's what's going on with Elensky and Ukraine. By the way, there was a Newsweek poll. It was Newsweek and some other polling group. I forgot the name, but let me see if I have the name, actually, just so I make sure I get this right. Newsweek and Redfield and Wilton Strategies. They ran a poll the other day, and they claim that 31% of Americans are in favor of sending U.S. troops to Ukraine to fight in this conflict. 31%. They claim another like 34% are not in favor. And then there's like a whole bunch of respondents in the poll who just have no idea. They don't even know where Ukraine is. A quarter of those surveyed were unable to locate Ukraine on the world map. So that's the Newsweek poll, which says 31% of Americans, they want to see boots on the ground in Ukraine, according to Newsweek and this other polling group or this think tank or whatever these guys are. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for 1 second. I think they're trying to to con the American people into thinking that boots on the ground in Ukraine is a popular idea. I don't buy it at all. So Poland said that they're going to send troops to Belarus, to the border with Belarus, and the excuse that they're using is that they need to prevent the Wagner forces from entering. One sec, everybody. From entering Polish territory and sabotaging Poland. That's the excuse that they're giving for sending troops to the border with Belarus. So Poland is inching ever closer to some sort of a conflict, perhaps with Belarus, perhaps with Belarus, perhaps with Russia. Who knows? But the Polish government continues to escalate, continues to provoke Belarus. But Russia's ready. Russia and Belarus is ready for any type of provocation from Poland. Putin has said as much. Putin has sent out his warnings to Poland, and so that's where we are with that situation. Actually, Elensky is on pretty bad terms with Poland, or at least Kiev is on bad terms with Warsaw, because an official in the Polish Foreign Ministry, he gave an interview the other day, and he was talking about, or he was asked about the grain deal and how Ukraine is upset at the fact that Poland is preventing Ukraine grain from entering the Polish market. And this Polish foreign ministry official, this government official, he said that that the Elensky regime should stop whining and should be a bit more grateful to Poland for all the help and support that Poland has provided Ukraine. And then Ukraine got upset with this statement from this Polish official, and they called the ambassador, the Polish ambassador to Kiev. They called him into the principal's office, and yeah, they expressed their anger at the Polish government officials' statements. And then the Polish Prime Minister Morawiecki, he put out a tweet, and he said that, yeah, Ukraine should be thankful for all the support that Poland has provided Ukraine. And what else did Morawiecki said? He said that Polish interests above all else. So that was the drama that occurred the other day between Poland and Ukraine. And then Elensky came out with a tweet of his own. And Elensky, he tried to be peacemaker. He basically put out a tweet and said, let's put politics aside and let's not argue. We have a common enemy. That's what Elensky said. He said we have a common enemy in Russia, and let's focus on the common enemy and not focus on politics and grain and stuff like that. And then Elensky, he started to hint in his tweet. He started to hint at the creation of the Lithuanian Polish Commonwealth, at reconstituting this one-time Commonwealth, this one-time empire. And that was Elensky's tweet, referencing from the Baltic to the Black Sea, Poland, Lithuania, and Ukraine. So that was an interesting tweet and statement from Elensky. Look, if you're Elensky and you're reading CNBC and you're reading Politico and you're seeing that Biden is frustrated with you and Politico is talking about your assassination, you're saying to yourself, how do I get out of this mess and keep my money? That's what Elensky is saying. How do I get out of this mess and keep my money? You really only have two options. Option number one is to call up Russia and to call up Putin and beg for forgiveness and beg for safety. And then in that case, you're not going to keep your money. That's option number one, but at least you'll probably stay alive. Probably, I don't know, but that's one option. And the other option is to hope for some Polish intervention, and you become the president of this new region in the western part of Ukraine, with the capital being Lvov, or you become the governor of a republic of Poland if Poland dares to intervene. I don't know. Those are his options. Those are his options, and so I think he's trying to butter up Poland and Lithuania by referencing the creation of this one-time empire. So that was Elensky's tweet and statement, trying to calm things down between Poland and Ukraine. So remember the story that I was talking about from the New York Times in a video the other day, about actually yesterday's video, I think, where the New York Times was saying that Ukraine's next big plan after the counteroffensive reboot, which has failed, is a massive drone attack towards Moscow. Well, the Wall Street Journal, they're also confirming this plan. Maybe this plan is a distraction. This could be some sort of distraction that the collective West mainstream media is throwing out there. But the Wall Street Journal, they said that the Elensky regime, their next big plan in this conflict is massive drone strikes, specifically targeting Moscow. So that was an interesting article from the Wall Street Journal. And this should be a clown world, but let me bring it up right now. And that is the UK Ministry of Defense. They've actually provided a reason for why the counteroffensive, the big counteroffensive that offends me and you and everybody here at this beautiful park in St. Petersburg. The reason the big counteroffensive and the big counteroffensive reboot, because there was a reboot, we have to remember that. The reason it failed is because of what did the UK Ministry of Defense call it? Undergrowth in the terrain, and the Russian forces were able to hide underneath the foliage, something like that. Let me get the exact statement from the UK Ministry of Defense. Undergrowth regrowing across the battlefields of southern Ukraine is likely one factor contributing to the generally slow progress of combat in the area. Yeah. Although undergrowth can also provide cover for small, stealthy infantry assaults, the net effect has been to make it harder for either side to make advances. It's the foliage. It's the foliage, everybody. The undergrowth, the overgrowth, the side growth. That's what caused the counteroffensive to fail, according to the Ministry of Defense of the UK. And and remember the story that I did a couple of days ago on North Korea, where I think it was also the New York Times, where the New York Times, they said that, or was it the Financial Times? Anyway, all the same collective West mainstream media stuff. Anyway, they had a report where they said that the Ukraine military is using North Korean rockets, and most likely these rockets were either captured, seized on the seas. So a friendly nation, they seized these rockets on a boat, or these missiles were captured from the Russian side. So the Russians were being given missiles by North Korea, and the Ukraine military, they managed to grab these missiles, and now they're using them against Russia. So I said in my video about this story that most likely what the Financial Times or the New York Times was doing is that they're setting up a scenario where the collective West begins to blame North Korea and escalate with North Korea based on the reporting that North Korea is supplying weapons to Russia, because you see the Ukraine military, they have North Korean rockets that they captured from the Russian side. And I said that was the reason for this reporting, so that they can start to blame North Korea and escalate with North Korea. And sure enough, that's exactly what we got, because we have this story from Voice of America with the title, U.S. warns North Korea of possible sanctions for helping Russia. The mainstream media, they work together. Everything is very coordinated between the collective West mainstream media, the Biden White House. They're all working together to move along some sort of narrative or some sort of policy. In this instance, a sanctions policy against North Korea. Excursia. Kuda.
Riva Niva and Bay of Baltic.
Bay of Baltic.
Yes.
Очень интересно.
К
Спасибо.
Финскому заливу.
Спасибо. So, to wrap things up, at least with regards to with Ukraine, we have an article from the New York Times with the title, Ukrainian troops trained by the West stumble in battle. Ukraine's army has for now set aside U.S. fighting methods and reverted to tactics it knows best. Basically, what this article is reporting is that the whole combined arms warfare and NATO fighting strategy is over. It's over, and Ukraine is going to now go back to a war of attrition and a war based on artillery. And the New York Times basically says that, or it doubts that Ukraine can win such a conflict against Russia. Basically, what the New York Times is saying is that Ukraine lost. They can't win. But they don't want to say it. That's what they're saying, but they don't want to say it. And, I get the feeling, listening to Alexander's reports, listening to Brian Berletic's reports, listening to Scott Ritter's analysis, Andrei Martianov's analysis, I get the feeling that the counteroffensive is starting to peter out. It's slowly, it's winding up, it's winding down, and the collective West just doesn't want to admit it, and they're allowing it to just kind of wind down because it's been a failure. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. So let's change topics, and we'll get to a clown world, and we'll wrap this video up. And trying to think, where should we go, everybody? If you were with me right now, what direction would you advise me to go? Really beautiful park right here. Just chill out. Right next to all of these amazing cathedrals, churches, palaces, museums, statues. Okay, so let's get back on course, Alex. Let's get back on track. So you know the Saudi Arabia-Ukraine peace summit that the U.S. is putting together. That's going to take place in Jeddah on the 4th and 5th of August. Well, China, Mexico, Brazil, they've all said that they're not going to attend this summit, and they're not going to attend this peace summit, as the U.S. is trying to brand this, because it's impossible to talk about a peace summit without Russia being there, because Russia's not invited. And so they're basically saying, why waste our time with this sham of a peace summit when the most important party to this entire narrative, to this entire conflict, is not gonna be invited. So they've all turned down the invitation. And I just want to say one thing about this. Just a week ago, the Collective West media was running report after report, article after article about how the Russia-Africa summit was a failure because 49 nations attended the summit, and of those 49 nations, 19 of those African countries, they sent their head of state. And the Collective West media was saying that this was a failure for Putin, for Russia. And that's what they were running with just last week. And so what would you call this upcoming summit in Saudi Arabia if the Collective West, if their standards were that the Russia-Africa summit was a failure because 19 world leaders went to that summit and 49, a delegation of 49 countries were present at that summit, and that was a failure? What would you call this upcoming Saudi, US, Ukraine peace summit when you already have Mexico, Brazil, and China saying they will not attend? Can we call it a failure? I think we can, if we go by their standards. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Niger. Let's do a very quick update on Niger. The U.S. Embassy, the State Department, they said that they're going to be evacuating many of their diplomats in Niger. So now you have the Italian embassy, you have the French embassy, and now you have the U.S. Embassy. They're evacuating their diplomatic staff, and France and Italy, they've evacuated their citizens from Niger as well. And did you know that there was 1,100 U.S. soldiers in Niger? What are 1,100 U.S. soldiers doing in Niger? And Secretary of State Blinken, he actually came out with a statement saying that the U.S. will find a way to restore the government of Niger back into power. Things are getting very, very tense in Niger. Very tense. Let me zoom in if I can. Opa. Let me zoom in again. So let's do a clown world. We can wrap this video up. This has been a really nice walk, I must say. Yeah, let's do a clown world. This is a good one, everybody. This is a good one. So we've had the Ghost of Kiev, right? That was one of the best clown worlds ever, the Ghost of Kiev. Well, now we have the ghosts of Bakhmut. The ghosts of Bakhmut. Not the ghost of Kiev. We've also had the goat of Kiev as well. Remember that one? So we've had the ghost of Kiev, We've had the goat of Kiev, and now we have the ghosts of Bakhmut. And this is an article from the Daily Mail. Let's walk up this way here. And the Daily Mail is reporting, dailymail.co.uk. It is reporting about a group of snipers in Ukraine that were fighting in Bakhmut. That together, like 20 snipers, together they had something like 524 kills during night raids in Bakhmut. And this article really pumps up the UK military. I mean, really pumps up the UK military. And so let me read you a little bit of what the dailymail.co.uk is reporting about the ghosts of Bakhmut. A Ukrainian sniper team dubbed the Ghost of Bakhmut has killed 524 Russian soldiers in the past 6 months. The leader of the 20-strong unit, whose secret call sign is Ghost, has personally accounted for 76 enemy troops in that period. The team uses the same rifle as Britain's special forces, of course they do, and some of the ghosts were trained by the UK's best snipers, of course they were, and the team's youngest member is known as Brit for that reason. Of course he is. Of course he is. He's known as Brit, who uses UK rifles and was trained by UK snipers. The ghosts of Bakhmut. Let's see here. It says that all of the kills are verified using video footage recorded by their night scopes. The snipers also operate in silence, so their high-value targets have no chance to take cover. The shocking figures emerged in a BBC report yesterday. Of course, the BBC reported on this. And it also says that the ghosts of Bakhmut are so good that they put U.S. Navy SEAL Chris Kyle to shame. That's how good they are. And they talk about Chris Kyle. He was the Navy SEAL in Clint Eastwood's American Sniper, I believe. And basically, they're saying that the ghosts of Kiev are just at a different. They're at a different level. So the ghosts of Kiev, everybody. You have the goat of Kiev. No, the ghost of Bakhmut. You have the ghost of Kiev, the goat of Kiev, and the ghost of Bakhmut. That's what I want to say. I got distracted. There's music over there. There's someone talking back there. And anyway, I got a bit distracted. So I'll wrap up the video. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, and Rockfin. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code Good Day. Pick up a Duran shirt, maybe with the flag of Greece representing here in St. Petersburg. Take care.